Hello, my name is Mike Bailey. I represent Footprints of Jesus Ministry. We are a music ministry that helps musicians. We give tutorials, we give guidance. We are kind of a mentorship program, and thank you for checking out this video right here. This is a video where we initially decided we were going to do this as the need arose for a direct in board for one of our members. And in that time frame, we were like, well, why don't we videotape what we're doing here and kind of talk about this and make it a real simple way for people to find this information at our website. And from that great idea comes this particular video. This is the first one we will create, but in the process of preparing, we realized there probably were some prerequisite things that would have fit out really well and really went together quite nicely with this particular video too. So look forward to seeing those prerequisites come out, and we will sort of label them that way so that you'll know that this is a probably number 3 video in the series. I can think of 2 other things that probably needed to be talked about beforehand. So um, without any additional delay in this, let's move right into what we're talking about today. That we're going to be looking at creating a direct input pedal board. And the idea here, there are advantages to this, and you're hearing from somebody who basically has made many pedal boards, and usually when I made them, they were somehow, some way connected to an amplifier or group of amplifiers, and always wanted to just basically set my pedal boards up to just do various things either in front of the preamp on an amplifier or in the effects loop of an amplifier. Again, look for the explanations on those things in another video we'll do. But right now, just it's important to know that all the things I used to set up, I used to set them up for a different application altogether. And so more recently, I had to kind of move into this realm of setting up a pedal board to do DI, direct in. And the advantages you get from that is that you basically get to be ampless on your platform. So at that point, you don't have a lot of equipment on the platform, and you're not pushing a lot of volume, a lot of sound pressure level, and your sound guy is going to absolutely love that. But obviously, the disadvantage, the reason why some of us old schoolers are reluctant to do these things, is that basically it causes us to lose a lot of the control over what we're doing. And so we have to put a lot of reliance into our sound reinforcement people, the live sound engineers. They basically have the control now on our systems that we're presenting. And so we can help them a lot also too by basically making sure that what we present is exactly the best representation of our sound. So this is what I've learned, and this is sharing the things that I've kind of come across as I basically made this transition from front of an amp pedal board to direct in pedal board to be used in the front of the house sound system, sans or without an amplifier on the platform. So first thing that I want to kind of even direct everyone's attention to here is this particular pedal right here is a this is called a fly rig, and this is from a company named Tech 21. Great American company, by the way. Tech 21. They create a lot of equipment. They are a company that basically makes a lot of their own rigs and develops a lot of technology for themselves, and that's pretty cool. This particular pedal is designed almost like I'm holding an entire pedal board in my hand, and this pedal board can actually go direct right into the house of your soundboard equipment, and basically you can use this just like a pedal board. So for that reason, that's why they call it fly rig. It's something, it's an entire rig you can fly with. You can put it inside your guitar case or in your bags and fly with this and have something that you're at least familiar with and can use while you're out traveling as a musician. It's nice. It's great. It's also very expensive, and it's because it's an all-in-one integrated together. There's not a lot of flexibility as to what you can do with this particular pedal itself. Now you can build around this pedal. You can build your entire pedal board around this. You can have things in and out of it, and various arrays, and I've done that. I've done that lots of times. But by and large, this is a standalone unit by itself. Um, I'm going to also demonstrate how I have copied that particular fly rig into something that is sort of my own fly rig on a pedal board. And it's this guy right here. Last night, I put this together. This was just a random collection of stuff last night, and I tore off what was on there and basically put this together. And this kind of mimics my own version of a fly rig. This is kind of it's first off, it's a lot more flexible because now I made choices onto what to put on the board here. Things that I know work and I like are on here. So right at the very, very front of this, and I've got up here on the board, I got a basic board layout of what I think a DI board kind of could potentially have or should have. Right at the very, very, very front, we're going right to left here as the signal travels. This is a tuner, and I think that if you want my honest opinion, I think that this is probably about the most important pedal you can have, because I really, really appreciate an accurate tuner and having one that really works well. And so that right there in the very front is great. The next pedal here is an overdrive pedal, and it's kind of a fancier one. So I do admit that this is kind of an upgraded pedal. This is a little bit more pricey, but it's a Boss pedal, and it's called the Blues Driver, and it's what I use on this board to mimic this overdrive step right here. Right here is a Joyo pedal that basically, this is off of Amazon, and these guys make a pedal that you can use as a preamp. So that's right there. It's the third pedal in line. Then the fourth pedal is sort of a delay reverb built in together pedal, and that's what I show right here. This has got both effects in it, so it's almost 2 for 1 here. So that's pretty cool that works out that way. And then finally, and this is the one thing where I had to get my knowledge together on, but this pedal is called a cabinet simulator, and that's what I show right there. And then this pedal has an XLR out, so it also has a 1/4 inch out. Now those two things basically allow you to either go 1/4 inch into, say, like an amplifier if you really wanted to go that route, but you can also do an XLR out or a mic cable, if you will, direct into the systems that you would be going direct into for house. And so those give you some of the general ideas of how to basically assemble a board for DI purposes. I tested this board out last night. I didn't get to test it in our house system here at our church, but when I tested it out on my amplifier with a real flat response on my amp, man, it sounded fantastic. So I really considered just using it this morning. So one last thing I do want to point out, though, is at the heart of all of these pedals, or these pedal boards, at the heart of all of them is something that needs to basically be your preamplification. It needs to be the thing that you can use for your equalization settings and so forth. And so on a pedal board that's meant to be direct in, you've got to somewhere on that pedal board, in my opinion, in my estimation, you need to be able to sort of simulate the preamp that you would normally get on your amplifier. So when you send a signal to your amplifier, you're basically going into the preamp, and then if you were to, say, put some effects in your effects loop, those are post preamp effects normally, not always, but normally that basically is preamp into your amp. Effects loop is after the preamp, and then return to the effects loop, then goes into the power section of your amp, from power section to transformer, from transformer to speaker for an output. This pedal takes the place of that very first stage I'm talking about, preamp. So basically, if your amp or if your guitar is going into the front of this, that replicates the preamp on your amplifier, and this output can either go directly to the power amplifier, as I mentioned, or this could be the start of your effects loop right there. So bear that in mind as we look at some of these, but some effects work better going into the preamp than some other effects do. I think that from time to time, you're going to find that some of your modulations and some of your delay that you might want to set up would be better off being in the output of the preamp or in the effects loop, so to speak. So, all right, so I want to just take a brief moment here to kind of review where we've been so far. And so just note what the basic board contains is a tuner, usually some sort of overdrive, something that serves as your preamp, something that serves as some sort of reverb and or delay. And then at the end, it's always nice to have something like a cabinet simulator, like the one that we have, that basically has an XLR out so that we can go direct into the house. So I'm going to just talk very quickly about the fact that we can go from a basic board to something more advanced. It all kind of depends on the actual physical size of your board, and it also depends on your ability to power additional things on your board. These are all concepts that I can speak to someday in a future video, but for now, what's nice to just know is that basically you can grow your board, and there are a lot of different things that should be added to make a basic board even more advanced and even more interesting to use. So for instance, I do have a boost pedal on one of my boards, one of the main boards I use, and it is something that I have put basically right here. I have inserted it between my overdrive and my preamp so that basically I can kick up a little extra dB, a little bit of gain, so that basically I get some more boost for kicking up my volume. And I have that kind of control with that boost pedal, and that's a really cool add-on right there. Additionally, I am somebody who likes to use a lot of delay, and again, I consider this an important delay to have right there, but I do sometimes create an additional delay and will oftentimes also put it in front of a preamp so that basically this will be set up to do something different. Something like a slapback echo is something I really enjoy having in front of my preamp. It works very well that way. Finally, modulations. And modulations I found, they include things like phasers, which are what I use a lot of, but also choruses, flangers, those sorts of things. Wah pedals are considered modulation as well, and you can get a wah pedal that is auto wah. I have a couple of them, in fact. But I tend to go with my phaser more often than not. And again, I tend to want to put those before my preamp, but you want to experiment with all of this to know what's best for your case. Your experiences may be different than mine. But this is kind of how we can go from a basic board of just 5 pedals. We can add, say, like 3 pedals and make it 8. And that's kind of oftentimes about what the standard medium-sized pedal with a power supply would have, is 8 outputs of 9-volt power. And so that's kind of how you would wind up with a intermediate advanced pedal board. And then finally, as we'll probably show here, we've got a board here that's got even more stuff added to it. So standard for me to put into an extended board would be all the things you've seen there, but I'll just go for extra, make sure I've got at least one kind of modulation, and I'll make sure that I definitely have the additional delay as well, and I'll always make sure I have a boost pedal. And then maybe the last thing I like to add is a compressor pedal. I love to have a compressor on the front of in the very, very front. In fact, if I were to show where I put my compressor, it goes right here. And basically right after the tuner, right before the overdrive, it's an always on pedal for me. And it always basically is working on my signal, basically compressing it into something that is going to be very presentable as it goes to the front of the house. So kind of an important pedal. It's even important if you're not going front of the house, in my opinion. It's not an exciting pedal, but it's something that basically does help kind of bring your sound levels into usable form for the live sound engineer. All right, so now I'm going to demonstrate some of these boards that I have been talking about, and I'm going to start with this Tech 21 board. This is the Fly Rig, and right now I'm kind of hooked into an amp, and I've got a real flat response with absolutely no modulation, no delay, no reverb, nothing. This is kind of what you would expect if you were basically going in front of the house and all you could do is just do kind of a matching network, where you're getting your impedance to where the board can even just use your signal. But what we're going to do is show what the beauty is of a board that basically allows you to do some things with equalization and some of the effects that you can do. So the first thing I'm going to do is turn on this middle section on this particular fly rig. That is now the equalization. That really does equal that preamp thing I was talking about before, and I have no idea what the settings are, so let's find out. Let's see if we can add a little sparkle here. So you can hear I've got a little bit of reverb going along now. I turned up my treble a little bit. Let's raise the mids up too. So that's what that does for you. Gives you a little bit of control. Okay, on here too is a delay. So basically this step right here is represented on here as well. Let's turn that on. Let's just see what that does for us. You hear that decaying sound there? I love that. That sounds absolutely wonderful. I really love the delay effect inside this pedal too. It's just, it really is cool. It's kind of hard to replicate anywhere else with any other pedal. But let me also add here what basically represents this step right here. This is the overdrive step on this pedal. So now you can hear a pretty heavy saturation on here. In fact, I probably got a little too much there. So that's our distortion for this. And then also too, this pedal did build in a boost function too, so you can actually kick it a little bit. So that's what's cool about this Tech 21 is it's basically does all those little things for you, adds all that stuff, and it fits inside your case and it'll allow you to do that direct in that we've been talking about. What I want to do now is kind of move all my setup here to this board that I built last night that I was talking about before and show you how this guy kind of replicates the same sorts of things and works exactly the same and has a few added features over that. So here is at the very front. I think we're looking at it on video right now. We've got a tuner pedal right there. You can see I was not in agreement with the tuner pedal. But isn't that cool that I got that right in the very front? I put that right where it's not getting altered signal from anywhere else. It's straight from my guitar to the tuner pedal right at the very beginning. And it also basically mutes the rest of the board here so I can get it all set up before I release the sound again. So here we are again in the flat response of this amplifier, which is actually a bass amplifier. It works really well for getting that nice flat response. So the first thing I'm going to turn on is the preamp pedal. This is, again, the place where I go and do my equalization at. So I got highs, mids, and lows to equalize across the top here. And I've also got a volume for output. And we got a little bit of drive, so if you want to dirty it up. And you can do a little bit of a change in voice on this guy. So that's a kind of a cool little extra feature as well for mid-range. Okay, so now we've got a little preamplification going on before we go into this amplifier that we're listening through right now. So now we can just kind of decide where in this chain, what else do we want to add? And I always have to have a little bit of reverb. I'm not a big reverb user, but I definitely need some. So I've just put a little bit in there. Okay, now the beauty of this pedal right here, we talked about this earlier, but this guy is 2-in-1, so now you can add a little bit of delay as well. Pretty much my favorite effect. And now we have that decay sound. Makes it sound a little bit like you're playing out in a valley somewhere. It's out listening to the sounds across the hills. So, also important to note that basically we're using this guy. This is an always on cabinet simulator, and this guy gives us different options for what it sounds like at the output. Now I found that I like both setting 7 and setting 8. And I will mention too that on this pedal you can actually edit your outputs on this guy too. So that comes with that functionality that you can set up custom sounds out of this particular pedal. And it's not a very pricey pedal. I have found these all over the place for less than $70, and sometimes even cheaper than that. A lot of times, in fact, all times when I'm buying them. So it's not a terribly expensive pedal, but it's very, very useful. Again, I showed you earlier that there was an IR, or a correction, an XLR output on this guy, so that is a very handy feature to have at the back end of your pedal board. So then one final pedal to kind of show on this is the overdrive pedal that I put on here. This is the Blues Driver. This is really a great pedal. So I'm running now through this overdrive, through this preamp pedal with delay on and reverb on, and then this cabinet simulator basically sending out a signal. And what does this sound like? So I feel like that's just, for my taste, a little bit too much high end, but otherwise I really kind of dig it. So that is what this particular pedal does. It really compares well to this Tech 21 pedal in terms of this is a full board, and basically this is a full board too, and they're really both very cool. They both serve the same purpose. This one's obviously got the added advantage of, if I want to change something or add something and do something a little different, I have that option here. I didn't have that before. So all right, so here we are. We are looking over this one particular board. This is Bria's board, actually, and she used it this morning, in fact. We have slowly been adding to this guy and building it out, and so just kind of want to show real quickly how you can have a board that is in front of the house again with a direct out. This has got the XLR out right there, and it's got a preamp pedal as well. But look at all the other things that Bria basically wants on here. That very advanced pedal board for sure. But you look at some of these things like modulation right here. That's a phaser pedal right there. There's an additional delay pedal to go along with this particular delay pedal as well. There's another one. So there's more than one delay pedal. That's really, really that's kind of in my realm actually. I love delay, and so I don't know that I could set enough up on my board either. If I could get more on the board, I probably would. Here's a distortion pedal, and this is kind of a standard um, issue distortion pedal that's very low in price, and it really performs well. It's a great pedal. Some of these other pedals I'm not even super familiar with, but I think this is a modulation pedal right here. I think this is a version of a distortion pedal. I believe that this is an overdrive as well. She's got a compressor here. I talked about these, and notice it's at the very beginning. And then here's a tuner pedal as well that is at the very front of everything. And so she basically puts her signal in there and uses this to get her guitar tuned up. And then everything kind of spills out over here into her choice of XLR or quarter-inch out. That's a pretty advanced pedal board right there, but this is the kind of thing that you can do. When you create your own pedal board for direct in, you can have all these different options to do these things. So Real quickly, I also want to just demonstrate, super quick, some of the tools that someone would be using to set some of these boards up. And I think it's obviously going to merit more discussions in the future. But right now, I'm taking out some tools out of a tool kit here of things that I use regularly when I am putting together some sort of board for myself. So as I pull all this various stuff out, here is the Velcro strips that we use. This is the hook and loop Velcro stuff. This is, I believe, what is known as the hook. And then the loop is the more rougher, coarser stuff right here that basically connects to that. So you got a couple rolls of that there. I got a ruler. Tape measure works fine. To be perfectly honest, I almost don't even necessarily need to use a ruler myself, but where a ruler really comes in handy is when you're making your own cables. And so here's a cable making kit. And in fact, I've got some extra material, so it's all in a bag together, but this is a kit itself that we basically can purchase anywhere and make our own standard length, correction, I should say custom length cabling, so that basically we can tie these pedals together with as minimal amount of cabling as needed. This is also merits a discussion, a long discussion someday, about how to basically set the cabling up on these boards. And it's imperative that we do be mindful of what we do cabling wise on our boards. Some additional things: you need some good cutters. You need a good pair of scissors for cutting your Velcro strips to length. You need these cutters to cut your cabling to length. A putty knife. You would say, what? Why a putty knife? Well, this allows you to basically climb right underneath these pedals and pull them off when you basically need to reposition them. That's how I do it. And then finally, this is one of my favorite tools. Well, this isn't finally. Let's talk real quick. For cable management, you're going to want zip ties. Zip ties will basically help you take the bundled up cable and make it neat so that it's not dragging along in the bottom. So these are important too. And then you cut them down with your side cutters here. But then finally, on top of it all, you really need to go and purchase yourself a meter that does ohms, checking ohms, and what you're looking for on a cable when you put them together is you are making sure that your cable that you just put together is got continuity and doesn't have a short. And so this ohm meter would basically allow you to check that and make sure that the cables that you're constructing are going to be usable and not present a problem before you put it on the board. So the way we would do that, I'll tell you what, let's go ahead and just use this cable right here. This is a known good cable, but I will show you on this. I'm setting this to check. Basically, it's an ohms meter. It's checking resistance, but in a cable, you really don't want any resistance at all. What you want is to ensure that on the end of your cable, you can go tip to tip and have no resistance whatsoever. Now I'm going to lift the one of these probes off of this cable, lose my conduction, and I'm going to check for over here. If you put the camera right here, you can see I'm just checking from tip to sleeve here on this cable, and that does not have any short, and that's the way that should be. And now I'm going to move sleeve to sleeve, and once again, it has continuity. That continuity shows you that this is a good connection there, sleeve to sleeve, and again, tip to tip. You need good continuity there, and you need to not see any continuity in as you cross those over. So hope that helps right now, and we're going to make some more videos. We're going to talk in depth about some of this stuff because this was a quick rehash of some stuff that we probably will need to go back and discuss it at a later time with more detail and depth. Thanks.